First contact and fatal warning. Commander Reese Hudson watched the alien vessel approach through the reinforced viewport of the UES Hyperion. It was humanity's first encounter with the Nexari Collective, a species known throughout the galaxy for their advanced scanning technology and insatiable appetite for understanding other civilizations' technological achievements. Unknown vessel is holding position at 5,000 kilometers, reported Navigation Officer Diana Frost, her hands steady on the neural interface. They are broadcasting standard first contact protocols. Hudson straightened his uniform, acutely aware that this moment would define humanity's entry into the wider galactic community. The Hyperion, Earth's most advanced stealth vessel, carried secrets that even most of the crew didn't know about, experimental technology that had cost thousands of lives to develop and perfect. Their ship is impressive, remarked Chief Science Officer Dr. Nathan Chen, studying the holographic display. The Nexari vessel resembled a massive silver lotus, its petals housing what intelligence suggested were the most sophisticated scanning arrays ever created. But they are about to make a terrible mistake. The warning came too late. Multiple energy signatures flared across the alien ship's surface, standard procedure for the Nexari, who believed that thoroughly scanning new species was their right and tradition. They are initiating a full-spectrum scan, Frost announced, her voice tense. Multiple frequencies, trying to penetrate our hull. Hudson closed his eyes briefly. They'd been warned this might happen. The Nexari's arrogance was legendary. They believed their technology gave them the right to examine any ship they encountered. Send the warning. All frequencies, all languages we have. The message was brief: scanning of human vessels is strictly forbidden. Cease immediately. The Nexari response came instantly: compliance unnecessary. Scan is harmless. Data gathering is our right. Sir, Frost's voice cracked slightly. They are increasing scan power. They are trying to pierce the darkness protocol. Hudson pressed his palm against the command console, activating the ship's most classified system. May whatever gods they believe in have mercy on their souls. Initiate Protocol 0. Deep within the Hyperion's quantum core, something stirred. Not a weapon, not a shield, but something far worse, the culmination of humanity's darkest research. The ship's internal lights dimmed momentarily as power diverted to systems that officially didn't exist. The Nexari scan, designed to penetrate any known defense, made contact with the Hyperion's outer hull. For a split second, nothing happened. Then reality itself seemed to scream. The alien vessel's scanning beams twisted, distorted, and turned back on themselves. But they weren't just being reflected, they were being transformed. Through their viewport, Hudson watched as dark tendrils of impossible energy crawled along the scan beams, reaching hungrily toward the Nexari ship. Sir, Dr. Chen's voice was barely a whisper. The protocol, it's not just defending. It's feeding. The Nexari vessel's silver surface began to blacken, spreading outward from where their scan beams connected with the Hyperion. Their broadcasts turned from confident to confused, then to terrified. Emergency signals blasted across all frequencies as their ship's systems began to fail. They are trying to disconnect, Frost reported. They can't break their connection. The protocol has them locked. Hudson watched grimly as the inevitable unfolded. The Nexari ship's elegant form twisted, its metal warping as if trying to escape from something unseen. Their broadcasts devolved into screams, not of pain, but of absolute horror as they finally glimpsed what their scans had awakened. Within minutes, it was over. The Nexari vessel hung dead in space, its silver surface now completely black, its crew silenced forever. Their final transmission, broadcast to their entire civilization, contained only 5 words: do not scan human ships. Send the incident report to command, Hudson ordered, his voice heavy. And prepare a general broadcast to all known species. They need to understand, this isn't a rule or a request. It's salvation. As the Hyperion prepared to return to Earth, Hudson reflected on the burden humanity carried. The Darkness Protocol wasn't just a defense system, it was containment for something that should never have been discovered, something that had changed humanity forever. The aliens couldn't be allowed to scan their ships, not because of military secrets or technological advantages, but because some knowledge was too dangerous to be shared. The incident with the Nexari would spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Species would theorize, speculate, and fear. But none would guess the truth, that humanity's ships couldn't be scanned because what lurked within them wasn't technology at all. It was something far older, far darker, and far more hungry than anything the galaxy had ever known. And it was always watching, always waiting for another curious species to ignore the warning and peer too deeply into the abyss that humanity had learned to harness. The Forbidden Protocol. 3 months after the Nexari incident, the Galactic Council chambers buzzed with tension. Representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations gathered to discuss what they now called the human question. At the center of their vast chamber, Ambassador Marcus Reed stood calmly, facing the accusations and demands of species far older than humanity. The Nexari vessel's destruction cannot go unanswered, thundered High Chancellor Vexthor of the Centaurian Alliance, his crystalline form pulsing with angry red light. Your species has deployed a weapon of mass destruction disguised as a defensive measure. Reed adjusted his neural implant, allowing him to perceive all the alien delegates simultaneously. The council chamber's architecture, designed to accommodate diverse species, stretched up into darkness. Some representatives floated in antigravity pods, others existed as pure energy within containment fields. With respect, Chancellor, Reed's voice carried clearly, the Nexari were warned. All vessels approaching human ships receive clear instructions: scanning is forbidden. The consequences of ignoring this warning are not our responsibility. A murmur rippled through the chamber. The Arxos delegate, a being of pure thought housed in a mechanical shell, stepped forward. We have analyzed the remains of the Nexari vessel. The energy signature is impossible. It defies known physics. What are you hiding, humans? Before Reed could respond, the chamber's monitors flickered. A new signal cut through all communications channels, a distress call. The Myrazian science vessel, Truth Seeker, was broadcasting its final moments. We thought we could penetrate their defenses, the Myrazian captain's voice trembled. Our quantum arrays were supposed to be undetectable. But it saw us. Gods help us, it saw us. Don't let them tell you it's just technology. It's alive. It's hungry. The transmission cut off. The chamber erupted in chaos. Reed closed his eyes briefly, remembering the classified briefing all human diplomats received. The truth about the Darkness Protocol was known to only a handful of individuals. He thought back to the incident that had started it all, long before the Nexari encounter. 20 years earlier, the UES Pioneer had made humanity's greatest and most terrible discovery in the ruins of a dead civilization at the edge of known space. The ancient race had left only one warning, etched in quantum-locked crystals: we saw what lies between dimensions. We tried to control it. This was our mistake. Humanity, driven by the same curiosity that had doomed the Nexari, ignored the warning. They found what lurked in the spaces between reality, entities that defied comprehension, beings that fed on information itself. But unlike their predecessors, humans had done the impossible: they'd learned to contain these entities, to bind them to their ships through the Darkness Protocol. The Council demands answers. Vexthor's voice cut through Reed's thoughts. What happens to ships that scan your vessels? Where do their crews go? Reed stepped forward, his expression grave. Chancellor, distinguished delegates, consider this: if we warn the Nexari, if we broadcast on all frequencies that scanning our ships means death, why do you think we did so? Not out of cruelty. Not out of technological superiority. We warn you because we must. The chamber's lights dimmed slightly as Reed activated a secure holographic projection. It showed the locations of every ship that had ignored the scanning prohibition. Each point of light represented a dead vessel, a crew that had looked too deeply into something they couldn't understand. The Meraxians just joined this list, Reed continued. They thought their scanning technology was subtle enough to escape detection. They were wrong. The entities we contain, they don't just detect scans. They hunger for them. Every attempt to penetrate our ship's defenses feeds them, makes them stronger. A quantum mind from the Alios collective pulsed with curiosity. You speak of these entities as if they are alive. Are we to believe humanity has harnessed some kind of cosmic horror as a defense mechanism? No, Reed's voice carried a weight that silenced the chamber. We haven't harnessed them. We've imprisoned them. Every human ship carrying the Darkness Protocol is a cage, a containment vessel for something that should never have been found. We sacrifice our own people to crew these ships, knowing they must live alongside these entities, keeping them contained through sheer force of will. The truth settled over the council like a shroud. Humanity wasn't just protecting military secrets, they were containing a threat that could unravel reality itself. Every ship scanner, every curious probe, every attempt to pierce their defenses risked releasing something far worse than death. As the council chambers erupted in frightened discussions, Reed received a priority message from Earth Command. Another alien vessel had just attempted to scan a human ship near the Carina Nebula. They hadn't even had time to broadcast a warning. The Darkness Protocol had claimed another victim, and the entities trapped within humanity's ships grew stronger with each attempt to unveil their secrets. Reed wondered how long they could maintain the containment, how many more species would ignore the warnings before they understood. Sometimes, forbidden knowledge stayed forbidden for a reason. Breaking the ban. The Quantum Research Station Alios hung in the darkest region of the Carina Nebula, its crystalline structures absorbing the ambient radiation that would have blinded conventional sensors. Inside the station's primary research chamber, Chief Scientist Raxthor of the Illuminated Mind Collective made final adjustments to what his species called the Revealer, the most advanced scanning array ever created. The human's ban has gone unchallenged long enough. Raxthor's thoughts resonated through the neural network connecting him to his research team. His crystalline form pulsed with determination as he studied the holographic displays surrounding him. 273 species have lost ships to their defensive measures. Today, we learn why. The target of their interest, the UES Nemesis, patrolled the nebula's edge. Unlike other human vessels that actively broadcast warnings, this one remained completely silent. Its hull, darker than the void itself, seemed to absorb both light and hope. Dr. Lyra Venn, the station's only human scientist, watched from her observation post with growing dread. She had tried to warn them, tried to explain why her species enforced the scanning ban. But the illuminated minds, evolution's answer to pure logical thought, couldn't accept not knowing. Final calibrations complete, announced third researcher Katal, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement. The quantum entanglement scanner is unlike anything the humans have encountered. It doesn't emit energy, it observes through quantum states that already exist. Lyra activated her comm link. Raxthor, please. The ban exists for a reason. What's inside our ships, it's not what you think. Your concern is noted, Dr. Venn, Raxthor responded, his thoughts tinged with what passed for kindness among his kind. But your species cannot hold such power without scrutiny. The galaxy must know. The Revealer powered up silently, its crystalline arrays aligning with quantum precision. Unlike conventional scanners that fired beams of energy, this device would simply observe the quantum states of every particle within the Nemesis, creating a perfect blueprint of the vessel and its contents. Quantum entanglement field expanding, Katal reported. Target vessel's particle states coming into alignment. We're beginning to receive data. Lyra watched in horror as the first readings appeared. The Nemesis hadn't reacted, couldn't react. The quantum scanner wasn't triggering its conventional defenses. But something else was happening, something far worse. These readings. Raxthor's thoughts became confused. The ship's internal space, it's not consistent with physical laws. There are regions where reality simply stops. The holographic displays began showing impossible geometries, spaces that folded in on themselves in ways that hurt to observe. But the scanner kept probing deeper, driven by the illuminated mind's insatiable need to understand. Wait, Katal's crystal structure began to vibrate with fear. Something's wrong. The quantum states, they are changing. Not just in the target vessel. Here. In the station. Lyra felt it first, a crushing pressure in her mind. like something vast and ancient had finally noticed the insects trying to study it. The entity within the nemesis hadn't been triggered by energy scans this time. Instead, the quantum connection itself had created a bridge. "It's aware of us," she whispered, watching as darkness began to seep through the station's crystalline walls. Not physical darkness, but something that existed in the spaces between thoughts. "You didn't just scan it. You linked with it." Raxthor's perfect logical mind tried to process what the scanner was revealing. The entity wasn't technology, wasn't a weapon, wasn't even matter as they understood it. It was a tear in reality itself, a living wound in spacetime that humanity had somehow learned to contain. "Shut down the scanner," Raxthor commanded, but it was too late. The quantum entanglement had created a permanent connection. Through the observation post's viewport, Lyra watched the nemesis turn, not using engines or conventional propulsion, but by bending the space around it. "Now you understand," she said, her voice heavy with sorrow. "This is why we contain them. Why we sacrifice our crews to live aboard ships that carry these things. Because if they ever got free..." The entity, now aware of the station through the quantum link, began to unfold itself through dimensions that shouldn't exist. The crystalline beings of the illuminated mind collective experienced terror for the first time in their million-year history as they realized what their arrogance had awakened. "Emergency protocols," Raxthor broadcasted. "Sever all quantum connections. Purge the database. Don't let it access the network." But the entity had already spread through the quantum scanner's connections, touching every crystal, every thought, every moment of the station's existence. The illuminated minds, beings of pure logic and thought, faced something that defied comprehension, and their perfect crystalline forms began to crack. Lyra reached for her emergency beacon, the one every human carried. Within minutes, the UES Hyperion would arrive, its own contained entity ready to help force this one back into its prison. But she knew the illuminated mind collective would never be the same. As reality itself began to warp around the station, as the entity showed them truths no mind was meant to comprehend, Lyra thought about humanity's burden. They weren't just protecting their secrets, they were protecting the galaxy from what they'd discovered, from what they'd barely managed to contain. The nemesis drew closer, its hull now rippling with impossible geometries. Inside, its crew would be fighting to maintain control, to force the entity back into containment before it could fully manifest. Another species had learned the hard way: some mysteries should remain unsolved, some powers should remain bound, and some warnings should never be ignored. The breaking point. The emergency session of the Galactic Security Council took place in the most heavily shielded chamber on Europa Station. Representatives from the galaxy's most powerful civilizations gathered to address what many now called the human containment crisis. The destruction of the Illuminated Minds research station had sent shockwaves through galactic society. Fleet Admiral Victor Reyes stood before the assembled delegates, his weathered face illuminated by the hovering displays showing the growing list of ships lost to scanning attempts. Behind him, the UES Thanatos held position outside the station, its mere presence making the alien representatives uncomfortable. 3 days ago, Reyes began, his voice carrying the weight of command. The Styraxian Empire lost their flagship attempting to scan one of our vessels. Yesterday, the collective of 9 tried using automated drones. This morning, the Alios Confederation thought their psychic probes would succeed where technology failed. He paused, letting the silence speak for itself. High Chancellor Zarake of the Void Dwellers rose from her gravity pod, her ethereal form rippling with concern. "Admiral, the growing frequency of these incidents cannot be ignored. The entities your species contains, they are getting stronger." "They are." Reyes nodded grimly. "Each scanning attempt, each probe, each desperate try to understand what we're carrying, it feeds them. Makes them remember what they once were." The chamber's lighting flickered as he activated a secure hologram. It showed the Mars ruins where humanity had made their terrible discovery 50 years ago. The ancient warnings carved into quantum-locked stones. The first entity they'd encountered, and the price paid to contain it. "We thought we were alone in knowing about them," Reyes continued. "But the Mars ruins told a different story. 100,000 years ago, a civilization far more advanced than any of us made the same mistake we did. They looked too deeply into the spaces between dimensions. Found something that had been sleeping since the universe was young. The hologram shifted, showing impossible geometries that made several delegates look away. They called them the Void Hunters. Beings that existed before space and time as we know it. They fed on reality itself, turning ordered space into chaos. This ancient civilization managed to force them back into their dimension, seal the breach. But the damage was done. The Void Hunters had awakened. A representative from the Silicon consciousness stepped forward, its mechanical form precise and elegant. If these entities are so dangerous, why contain them in ships? Why not destroy them? Reyes laughed, but there was no humor in it. Destroy them? You might as well try to destroy gravity or time. No, containment was the only option. But they were spreading, appearing all across our solar system. We had to act fast. The hologram showed the first human containment vessel, the UES Prometheus. We found a way to bind them, using a combination of quantum technology and human consciousness. Each ship carrying an entity requires a crew willing to live alongside it, their minds helping to maintain the containment field. It's not just technology holding these things in check, it's human will. And now, Zara K pressed. These incidents, they are escalating. The entity that broke free in the Carina Nebula nearly consumed an entire sector before your ships contained it. Reyes nodded heavily. Because every scan, every probe, every attempt to understand them strengthens their connection to our reality. The more you try to observe them, the more real they become. The harder it is for our crews to hold them. The chamber erupted in concerned murmurs as a new alert flashed across the displays. The mechanoid Imperium, ignoring all warnings, had just launched their most advanced scanning fleet toward a human patrol near the Horsehead Nebula. Watch, Reyes commanded, his voice tight with controlled anger. The feeds showed 6 mechanoid vessels, each bristling with scanning technology, surrounding the UES Nemesis, the same ship that had been involved in the Carina incident. The mechanoids initiated their scans simultaneously, believing overwhelming force would penetrate the human defenses. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space itself began to warp. The entity within the Nemesis, already strengthened by the previous quantum scanning attempt, responded with terrible force. Reality twisted around the scanning beams, folding back on itself in ways that defied physics. The mechanoid ships didn't explode or break apart, they simply ceased to exist in normal space. 7,000 mechanoid consciousness cores, gone, Reyes reported quietly. Not destroyed. Taken. Added to what the entity already consumed. Making it stronger. High Counselor Zara K.'s form pulsed with horror. How long? How long can your crews contain these things? Reyes turned to face the assembled delegates, his expression grave. That's why I called this session. The entities are growing stronger with each attempt to scan them. Our crews. He paused, choosing his words carefully, they are starting to hear whispers. The entities are becoming more aware, more active. We estimate that if the scanning attempts continue at the current rate, containment will fail within 6 months. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't just protecting military secrets or advanced technology. They were holding back something that could unravel the very fabric of reality. So now you understand, Reyes concluded. This isn't about politics or military advantage. Every ship you lose to a scanning attempt doesn't just kill its crew, it feeds the entities, makes our job harder. We're not asking you to respect our privacy. We're begging you to help us save existence itself. Outside the station, the UES Thanatos hung motionless in space, its hull seeming to absorb both light and hope. Inside, its crew maintained their endless vigil, their minds locked in constant battle with something that wanted nothing more than to unmake everything they had ever known or loved. And in the spaces between dimensions, the entities waited, growing stronger with each failed attempt to understand them, counting the moments until containment would finally fail. Revelation. The UES Harbinger's emergency beacon pierced the darkness of deep space, its quantum signal carrying a message no one ever wanted to hear: containment failing. Entity breaching. Need immediate assistance. On the bridge, Captain Rachel Winter fought against the crushing pressure in her mind as reality itself began to warp around her ship. The entity they'd contained for so long was finally breaking free, strengthened by countless scanning attempts from foolish alien civilizations. Hull integrity at 15%, reported Lieutenant Owen Chen, blood trickling from his nose as he maintained his station. Quantum containment field failing. The entity, it's not just trying to escape anymore. It's changing. Through the view screen, space itself seemed to fold and twist, creating patterns that hurt to look at. The Harbinger's crew of 300 had been chosen for their mental resilience, their ability to live alongside something that defied comprehension. But now, even their combined will couldn't hold it back. All ships in range, Winter broadcast, her voice steady despite the horror unfolding around her. This is a Class Omega emergency. The entity is evolving. What we've contained, we finally understand what it truly is. The response was immediate. 5 human vessels dropped out of hyperspace around the Harbinger, each carrying their own contained entity. The UES Thanatos, Nemesis, Hyperion, Phoenix, and Prometheus, the most powerful ships in Earth's fleet, forming a containment circle. But they weren't alone. Despite decades of warnings, despite countless lost ships and crews, alien vessels were still arriving, still trying to witness what was happening. Their scanning arrays powered up, unable to resist this final chance to understand humanity's great secret. Don't. Winter's warning came too late. The alien scans pierced the chaos around the Harbinger, and in that moment, the entity revealed its true nature. Reality shattered. The alien ships didn't explode or break apart, they simply ceased to be, their matter and energy absorbed into something that existed between dimensions. But this time was different. This time, the entity spoke. We remember now. Their voice wasn't sound. It wasn't even thought. It was truth forcing itself into minds never meant to comprehend it. Through the Quantum Command Network, Winter received the emergency transmission from Earth Command. Similar incidents were occurring across the galaxy. Every contained entity was awakening, remembering what they were. They are not separate beings, Winter realized, the terrible truth finally clear. All this time, we thought we were containing individual entities. But they are all part of one thing. Something that existed before our universe. Something that our reality was built to imprison. The 5 human ships maintained their circle around the Harbinger, their own entities resonating with the one breaking free. But instead of trying to stop it, they were now part of a desperate last resort. Admiral Helena Shaw's voice cut through the chaos, broadcasting to every ship in the galaxy, this is humanity's final warning. What we've contained isn't just a threat to our ships or our worlds. It's the thing that our universe was created to lock away. Reality itself is a prison, built by beings we can't comprehend, to contain something even they feared. Through the quantum network, Winter saw the truth humanity had discovered in the Mars ruins. The ancient civilization hadn't just found the entities, they'd discovered the purpose of existence itself. Space, time, physical laws, all of it was designed as a containment system for something older than reality. Every scan, every probe, every attempt to understand it weakened the walls of its prison, Shaw continued. We thought we were containing individual fragments, but we were really maintaining the structure of reality itself. And now, the entity's voice resonated through all of space, the prison weakens. We remember what we were. What we will be again. Winter watched as her crew fought against madness, their minds linked with the other ships in a desperate gambit. Humanity had prepared for this moment, knowing it might come. Every ship carrying an entity had been designed not just for containment, but for something far more desperate. All ships, initiate Protocol Omega, Shaw commanded. The entities can't be contained anymore. But we can give reality itself a chance to repair its walls. Winter understood what that meant. The human ships weren't just prisons, they were sacrificial anchors. Points where reality could be reinforced, but only at a terrible cost. It's been an honor, Winter told her crew as she initiated the sequence. Around the Harbinger, the other 5 ships did the same. Their quantum cores went critical, not with explosive force, but with something far stranger. The entities, trying to merge back into their original form, found themselves trapped in a new kind of prison. Not walls of reality this time, but chains made of human consciousness and sacrifice. 300 minds on each ship, willingly binding themselves to the space between spaces. The alien vessels that survived watched in horror as the 6 human ships twisted in impossible ways, their crews becoming one with the barriers between dimensions. They didn't die, death would have been a mercy. Instead, they became eternal guardians, their consciousness stretched across the void, reinforcing the walls of reality's prison. The entity's voice faded, its fragments once again contained, but not in ships this time. In the merged consciousness of humanity's bravest souls. Admiral Shaw's final transmission echoed across space, "Now you know. Now you understand. This is why scanning was forbidden. Not to protect our secrets, but to protect reality itself. The prison must hold. The walls must stand. And humanity will stand guard for eternity." The Harbinger and its sister ships faded from normal space, becoming quantum anomalies that defied scanning or measurement. Their crews would never die, never age, forever merged with the barrier between reality and chaos. And in every ship, on every world, the truth spread: humanity hadn't been containing weapons or hiding technology. They had discovered the true purpose of existence, and taken up the burden of maintaining reality's prison walls. The scanning ban wasn't about secrecy. It was about survival. In the depths of space, where the human ships had made their sacrifice, strange geometries now flickered. Not entities trying to break free, but human consciousness standing eternal guard, keeping the oldest and darkest secret of the universe safely locked away. The galaxy finally understood: some things were forbidden for a reason. Some warnings were written in the very fabric of space and time. And humanity had chosen to become the jailers of reality itself.